a bunch of during the week, like moving guys to injured reserve and things like that. Is that what is that for?
It's for contract savings because when a player goes to injured reserve, they only count half towards your overall salary cap. So, for example, when I have Tyrod Taylor on injured reserve, he's
Mm-hmm.
about a $12 million contract. He only counts 6 against my cap while he's on there.
Okay.
So, in trying to kind of make sure you're staying below the salary cap, it makes sense to have that stuff balanced.
Okay.
But
Okay.
hey, guys, it's live
What's up, guys?
podcast time. We've got an
Hello,
emergency
hello.
podcast. Bill has his lights on in the background celebrating
No,
because
that's my TV that's my TV glare from the Braves game.
and the Braves are winning, which makes me happy.
Oh,
Okay, but
fucking
when are the
killing it.
Dodgers playing?
Stop.
Next
I don't want.
year,
I don't want to
bitch.
hear. I don't want to talk about my Dodgers right now. But I am rooting for the Braves because I
That's
cannot
right.
watch the Astros win. So
That's right.
I,
That's
I
right.
guess I'm gonna have to root for the Braves, even though they just knocked my team out.
Have you seen the map? I'm pretty sure there's 47 states that are cheering for the Braves right now.
Right.
Basically, any fan base that isn't the Astros is cheering for the
Right.
for the Braves.
Right.
Man, well, then a lot of people are happy tonight.
Yep, absolutely. And speaking
Yeah.
of a lot of people being happy, I want to say an official welcome to the league, Javis. We were just saying that it's so nice to have an active Jags owner because there have been quite a few important pieces on that Jaguars roster that need to get turned over to kind of help that franchise move forward. And you just did it all in about 5 minutes. So well done. Congratulations. Way to make it a first mark. And we're going to talk through each of those trades and a couple of others. Again, this is meant to be pure feedback in terms of what we think about things. Every trade is going to be a learning experience. But again, I think the overall consensus here is you did really well for your first set of really big moves that you had to make to get this franchise where it needed to be. So I'll stop talking for a second and, let you say hello to the league.
Is everybody on this league watching? Hello, I'm Javis. I hope everybody likes my moves. Apparently, some people didn't, but we'll see how it works out for me. I guess that's all that's important to me.
Exactly. If there's anything you're going to learn from Matt, it's that the only thing that's important is how your team does.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm not real concerned what everybody else thinks. If my team's moving in the right direction, then I guess I don't really care, to be honest.
That's right. And if you haven't gotten an offer for either of those guys yet, for any of those guys involved, then people are slacking.
No, I've got. I think the day I jumped on, I probably had. It felt like a million trade offers. And I was like, hold up. I looked at my roster and I was like, well, I don't want to get rid of Henry or Bosa. Those seem like the only two guys good on my team. Why would I want to get rid of those guys?
Well, you should check your trades again because I guarantee you there are offers out there for Mahomes, Kelsey, and anybody else you got taken care of.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I told a couple of you guys, I heard DNs were gold. So I found out tight ends were gold. So I guess I got Kelsey, but I lost Bosa. We'll figure it out.
You got a pretty penny for Joey Bosa and that big contract of his. I would not.
You're better served.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too upset about that one.
Take those first and get a cheaper one.
If there's anybody who's going to be upset about this, it's probably Brett. Falcons, welcome.
Oh, somebody's upset. All right.
No. It's Brett likes to get upset about everything. So
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. All right, Mike. Where do you want to start?
I'm thinking we start at the beginning here. So we did a podcast last night. We usually do about one of these per week. And as a result of that podcast, a couple of trades started happening. And probably makes sense to kind of start there because we had a pretty active 24 hours here.
10 trades today.
So let's see. Going back to last night.
You're welcome for starting that off, by the way, with my blockbuster with Eagles.
Are you sure you don't want to go most recent and work your way back?
I mean, if I have the opportunity to start talking about Miles Bryant for a 23 fifth-round pick, I mean,
that is the one you got to start with.
So, again, pretty straightforward. A renegotiable, I believe, corner who's being productive for the latest pick that can be given for said corner just makes sense.
Are you saying that Matt's going to win the league and it's going to be 532?
Back to back, baby.
Oh, Chargers won last year.
No,
No.
2023 would be next year, so I'd win this year, and then again next year.
I got you. Okay.
That would be the darkest timeline. That would be a very
Whoa! You don't know what happens when I win leagues.
That would be a
My
very,
teams
very
explode.
Matt, nobody knows
bad
what happens when you win leagues.
True.
set of events. Anyways,
All right.
Moving on to the next one. The big move of this morning was a combination of two deals that got processed at the same time. We had Dalton Schultz and Todd Gurley heading over to the Eagles for Ebron and the Chargers 22nd. Schultz was somebody we featured on our podcast last night as somebody who made sense to trade because he had 1 year left on his contract at a very reasonable renegotiating rate, I believe about $7 million. We've just checked. And then, of course, we've got a safety swap here of Kareem Jackson swapping out with DeMonte Casey. But again, the bigger piece there is really Schultz. Chiefs just sheds all of Gurley's contract, but picks up Ebron's instead. So not a huge cash savings, but does keep a productive player at the tight end position for now, plus picking up another second-round pick next year. Any overarching thoughts or reactions to this? Or and again, Javis, just ask questions if you're not understanding, hey, why are we reacting this way? What are we thinking about this? Stuff like that. We'll kind of explain our thought process and the calculus we get to our opinions.
When it goes
go ahead.
Inside of 2 years, you can't extend somebody.
So you
They have to have 2 years left on their deal. Wow.
Right. So if there's a one left on their deal, you can't use an extension. You can only use a trade extension.
Okay, so if you trade them, then that person can extend them immediately.
Right.
Yes.
So Dalton Schultz could not be extended by the Chiefs at this point because he had 1 year left on his contract.
So
the only options for the Chiefs, if he wanted to keep Schultz, would be to let his contract expire and then use either a restricted free agent, a transition tag, or a franchise tag on him in the offseason, which would be wildly expensive. So he did a tack that a lot of folks will do is trade him to another team who can extend him using a trade extension, get an asset like a second-round pick plus a starter like Ebron. That's a common tactic you'll see teams use to get the most value out of players at the right times.
Once they hit the agent market, what happens?
The price goes way up.
They're fair game.
Is it a score at that point?
Free agent auction.
Yeah.
You can get a comp pick if they scored high enough.
Yep.
But it's at best the comp pick's just like the NFL. It's late third round pick.
333 at absolute best.
Yeah.
So the comp picks aren't really worth it. But then the other thing to keep in mind with a trade extension, there's the extension calculators, but Schultz was also on his rookie contract. So you have to, if somebody's exiting their rookie contract and getting an extension on their rookie contract, there's different calculations that
they automatically get paid for their performance.
Right. Yeah. So if they're not a first round pick, so Schultz got paid. He was the tight end, 17, 18, 19, something like that last year.
He was in the teens, yeah.
Right. So his salary goes up to a little over $7 million on that extension.
Okay. But still if he had waited, fantastic asset for you to flip.
Yep. And if he had waited, he'd be at like 17 or 18 million at the end of the year.
Okay. If he went into free agency, because generally teams end up with, we had, I don't know, $1.5 trillion or something ridiculous to spend in free agency. So you can look at some of the players that went in free agency this year that were just ridiculously expensive. Like Derek Barnett,
example,
$32 million.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I mean, as far as this deal goes, I don't know. I feel like Chiefs put way more value into offloading that Gurley contract and took a much lower pick than he could have gotten for Schultz to get rid of the Gurley contract, which doesn't make that much sense to me when you're taking the Ebron contract. So the only real value that he saved, if he just cut Gurley or he cuts Ebron, because who cares? Like, he doesn't need Ebron's points either. The only thing he's really saved is like $3 million for Gurley in 2023, the 15% for the third year, assuming Gurley hasn't retired and that doesn't get wiped anyway. So, I mean, he just from what RJ is saying, he could have gotten late first round picks or at least early second round picks, and took a late second to get rid of that Gurley contract. Which, like, you're not a good team. Why do you care about the bad contract?
Well, and again, that's what we were saying as we were opening the conversation here. It's why, although we're all trying to win the league, I think we've got a good set of owners that will give you pretty good feedback if you ask questions. And if you don't want to ask someone who's involved in the trade, you've got a couple options to avoid that. But again, I'm sharing my screen here, so hopefully this is something you guys can see in the room as well. Is the winning bids for some of the guys in free agency last year. So again, Latavius Murray going for $12 million. You have Taylor Heineke going for $10 million, and this is back when he was fully expected to be the backup behind Ryan Fitzpatrick. Jameis Winston for $30 million. Jordan Poyer for $15 million. Cordero Patterson for $10 million. Manuel Sanders for $13.4,
which is now a steal.
Yeah, that is an absolute great contract.
So as you can see, things get pretty expensive in the offseason when it gets to free agency because everyone's trying to get a few players, which just sends their
and then just overpay like crazy.
That's basically it.
But the interesting part about this upcoming season is the 5th-year options that are kicking in. It's going to limit a lot of people.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second here, but I think the starting point is free agency tends to see players have to cost a lot more. There are bargains to be found, but that's a tougher thing to do. Really, it's a lot of folks overpaying for people. So
just like in the real NFL.
Yep. Kind of moving along here. Dante Pettis in a 4th for a 3rd. Jermaine Carter for Austin Bryant. Again, linebacker at the end. First, really, of the next intriguing trades, I would say, Geno Smith, Michael Davis, and Rayshon Jenkins for Dwayne Haskins, Jabril Cox, and Falcons 2nd. So late 2nd, dumping the Dwayne Haskins contract and a good, I would say, potential linebacker for a current starting quarterback, a starting corner, and a very economical and extendable safety. Any thoughts you guys had on this one?
I thought it was fine. I mean, it's definitely going to be a very late 2nd round pick.
Yep. So again, the thought process here is Rayshon Jenkins been playing very well at safety. Contract right now is about $1.8 million. You can trade extend him and keep him around $2 million. Thought process is if he makes it to free agency, you're probably paying 5, 6, 7 for him next year. So it's a pretty good size savings. In addition, having that second starting quarterback, since we do play best ball, believe Rams is starting the actual Browns quarterbacks, Mayfield and Keenum right now. So gives him another option while that they're getting healthy as he tries to make a run at the playoffs. And then turns around and sells Lynn Bowden for a 4th. RJ, since this involved you and you were starting the shopping process, what made you target Bowden?
I like him as a player. He's a very flexible player. He can play either position on offense, and the Dolphins know that. So when he does come back from injury, he hopefully has a role. And I think a 4th was reasonable enough to pay for that lottery pick.
I mean, that's all the 4th would be anyway.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, now we get to the real crux of the conversation. Since we have, should we try and get Patriots in here so we have everybody in here together? So we've got the first step of this. So I think taking a step back, when people were looking at the Jags roster, the major items that people saw that needed to go were Wentz, Henry, maybe Chark, but again, with him being injured, made sense to kind of hang there. Quintus Cephas and Joey Bosa, because these were larger contracts on more of a win now time frame for a team, And unfortunately, just based off of a lack of depth across the roster, it wasn't going to be something the Jaguars team as constructed could usually take advantage of without some major luck or some major changes. So the expectations were they were going to get sold, but in this case, just kind of a repurposed and upgraded. So getting moved from Wentz, Henry, Chark, and John Bates, as well as the Jags 22 first for Mahomes, Kelly, Kelsey, and the Broncos 23 first. So just a really fun trade where everyone's kind of throwing all in. You've got keystone pieces here in Mahomes and Henry changing teams. You've got the upside of the extra points that Kelsey brings and the potential for either Jags to hold him as a building block or flip him to accumulate more assets. It, again, invigorates both rosters. So I really was excited to see this. I'll stop talking. Bill or Javis, do one of you guys want to talk through why you made the deal or what kind of your plans are next?
Javis, you want to go first?
You can start.
Okay. Derrick Henry will not be on my roster by the trade deadline. I know that for a fact. I am not in a position to keep him, but I know that he has value. So my goal was to get him out of everything. And Chark is a great piece for me personally because I'm out of the playoffs. I'm right in the middle. He's a great wide receiver on a solid contract right now. But honestly, I've made it pretty clear over the last couple of days that Mahomes and Kelsey were available to be moved given the right situation, but those are hard situations to come by. And Javis, you've honestly been the only team that has like the worthy salaries and picks to go for it. It was just a matter of waiting you out, so to speak.
Okay.
I resemble that comment, but Javis, again, these were high demand items, especially Derrick Henry. Is it the allure of Mahomes and Kelsey that got you to finally to let these guys go, or what was it?
I think, yeah, for me, Mahomes and Kelsey are both young guys. It seemed like everybody wanted Henry. Honestly, I didn't really want to move him. I needed a running back, so I figured I'll take Callie on. And I didn't want to give up my first rounder, but he wasn't having it any other way. So I had a deal in place to get a first rounder from the Patriots at the time. So I was like, we'll flip it. I know I'm going to drop a little bit, but I got to start somewhere. So this is where I started. It's
a killer first deal for you, I think. Like I didn't realize you were doing these other deals at the same time. But I was really I felt like this was good for both sides. Like I said, it hurts us both in like not feeling great about it, which most times tends to be the best kind of trades.
Right. So again, to the comment that I think Bill had made in terms of the closing season, right now the Jaguars are 0-11. So a 22 first round pick is looking very appealing. I think it would be the third overall pick right now.
Mm-hmm.
To close the season, the Jaguars have the Rams, the Colts, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Saints, and the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams and the Titans are kind of going for it right now, but realistically, those are 3 or 4 wins that they should be able to rattle off as a result of this. And because of a number of teams like the Steelers, like the Colts, like the Lions, like the Panthers, like the Saints, like the Eagles, like the Cowboys, like the entire NFC West, the Jags pick could very easily climb from 3 to, edge of the top 10 based off of this. So if you're trading Derrick Henry and a potential top 10 pick and maybe not the best year for a guy like Mahomes and Kelsey, and again, those things can be continued to be recycled, I think that's a great deal. And again, he still gets a first-round pick back in another deal coming down the line, and now it's starting to build up the war chest in 23. So I love the pick for both sides because, frankly, it helps Bill figure out the way he wants to cycle to rebuild his team, and it puts Javis on his path to kind of make the team his own.
In my opinion, this is the only, if anybody complains about the trade, the only issue that they have with it is just the timing for it.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the trade and you think about this is 4 months down the line, 5 months down the line, once we already know where the picks are.
Mhm.
Like this is a trade that I would expect for somebody that doesn't like the quarterbacks coming out in this draft class to trade for a franchise quarterback.
Yep. It's a very off-season style deal in season.
Right. Like this exact trade, like if it were done I don't know, in April, somewhere, or February after rollover, it's simply I don't like and Malik Willis or
Right.
whoever's
Sam Howell or whoever.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd prefer Pat Mahomes, and that is very understandable.
Yeah, I don't think you can really there's not a better combination of players that you can trade a right now top 3 first in Derrick Henry for other than Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce that are realistically out there. Like people can say, "Oh, I would have given such and such for it," but I can bet you Javis can go and look in his trade offers and he won't see that.
I kind of view the Wentz contract as a burden. So like there isn't
100%.
There isn't some mass amount of value being added there.
Yeah.
I like Chark, but he's on IR, so it's not like you're chasing points.
Right. He'll help next year.
Him. Right.
I guess that's what kind of gets me is looking at this from Broncos' perspective. I think it'll look better for Broncos after any subsequent deals come, and you can look at what he gets for Henry as baked into this deal. Because for right now, knowing that Bill isn't really trying to compete this year, and seeing him in this deal get Carson Wentz and Derrick Henry has me thinking but you're not really using those pieces. You don't need those pieces, so now you have to resell those pieces.
Right.
So I don't really like those assets that he's gotten because he doesn't need them. And it's a little tough, watching the big trades that went down to get those big name assets to then be flipping them 6 months later. But I think that, if a deal for Henry and you're going to have the same 50 offers that Javis has had in his inbox for Derrick Henry. So as soon as that next trade comes through with Derrick Henry getting shipped, you kind of bake that in with this deal. I think it'll look a lot better than I think it does for me with Henry going to a team that doesn't really need him.
Yeah, because realistically, I think Henry's a lot easier piece to move than either Mahomes or Kelce were. And that's not to say Kelce or Mahomes are bad pieces. They're not. They're fantastic. But Henry is a $10 million running back one, as in he's the running back one.
Yeah.
He's a much easier piece to move for more first or another established player or players to continue to break down that Mahomes and Kelce duo into whatever he gets from Henry, that first, and DJ Chark. Because Wentz is whatever. He may or may not be the quarterback of the Colts next year because he's kind of dog shit, but he's kind of good enough for them to talk themselves into keeping. So
he's just good enough.
I mean, and it's a bit of the same for Jaguars as well, because for that team, does that team keeping Kelce make much sense? I mean, he's 32. He's really valuable right now, but he is on an expensive contract. But by the time the rest of the Jags roster is ready to compete, is Kelce going to be doing Kelce things anymore? So it kind of seems like both of them have broken up assets, but then also need to keep selling a little bit. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Well, if Mike has taught us anything, it's that you have to keep moving, or you get left behind, because he's the master of constant movement.
Red Queen paradox. I mean, although granted, Brett will show and Washington football team as well. Sometimes it comes down to timing and making sure you get the players you want and need at the right time.
Mike is a Super Bowl winning trade master.
He's a kingmaker.
Setting people up to help them knock everybody down.
Well, I recognized the window I wanted to hit, and that worked out pretty well for you guys.
It's working out pretty well for you too.
So next of the big three here, in the 30 seconds that changed the league, we have Juwan Johnson, Chicago's fourth, and a pair of fifth-round picks going for Quintus Cephas and Brevin Jordan. Again, I think this is a smart deal for Jags because they solidify a long-term, cheap tight end. Again, Juwan Johnson didn't come into the year as the starting tight end in New Orleans, but that sure looks like it's his job right now. So if, as Brett had mentioned, down the line move for Kelsey has to take place, he still has a good cheap option there to build around. So if Kelsey gets broken up for picks or a couple of other depth pieces, that's not going to hurt his overall score as much as it might have otherwise. And RJ, congratulations, you get to keep adding more players to your IR.
101 is not in danger.
I missed the whole last 15 seconds of whatever was said. So I heard congratulations. So I'm assuming that was about having Quintez Cephas.
On your IR.
On your IR.
I appreciate it. So I have a message to Old Browns owner in GroupMe all the way back from week 1 of last year when Cephas got 10 targets. And I'm like, I need this player. And I finally got this player. So I'm a little sad to give up Juwan because I do think he's going to be a huge asset in a couple of years. But I have a young wide receiver that I've coveted for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm happy.
Good.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. And then last but not least, the other part of the mega deal, the Jags moving off Joey Bosa for the Ravens 22 first, the Ravens 23 first, and the Pats 23 second. So all in all in this process, he gives up his 22 first, picks up 22 first, as well as 223 first and a 23 second for Joey Bosa. And all of this, and again, still has Mahomes that he can build around with Josh McKelly, who I think RJ, you and I both think very highly of. Then Travis Kelce, obviously, who with a lot of contenders, myself and Brett included, who are potentially in tight end trouble with our studs hitting a little bit of injury trouble at the wrong time, could come knocking for. I think that's a good situation for him to continue to keep refilling the stores.
Fine, I've got great tight end depth on my roster.
You have one tight end on your roster, if I remember that correctly.
You do.
Let's just go ahead and double check.
No, you're right. It was that was sarcasm.
Hey, we can also use this podcast as a buyer. So let everybody know what you need, what you're willing to trade.
I've got a bunch of IR players. There's like 5 of them.
You guys stay away from those guys. I'm trading for them.
First round picks. There's plenty of stuff.
Yeah, and you've got a little bit of cap space too, especially for moving some of those things. So, some good options to move on with that stuff.
The Bosa trade, I mean, I think that's a fair price for them if you're...
Oh, shit, my bad, Javis. I didn't realize I lost you for a second.
I'm getting a bunch of trade offers on Judon and Matt also.
Well, let's wait until I send something over for Judon. We'll talk after.
Judon is definitely something we're gonna have to have a conversation about.
I'm a Pats homer. I'll pay more than everybody else.
No, honestly, out of all these deals, I really like the Bosa one the best.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's 2 shots at, like, depending on the shakeout of the draft, like DN
2 or
anywhere
3.
from 2 to 4. Because like next year it could be DN 4 because the QBs are kind of shit. People may reach on DNs early. But like 2023, it may shake out to be DN2, and then you've got 2 shots at replacing Joey Bosa with probably not Joey Bosa level DN play, more than likely. But if you get 2 DNs that are 70 to 80% of Joey Bosa, I take that in a heartbeat. Plus whatever you shake out of that second. Which I'm not going to try and peg where the fuck Pats are going to be at next year, because that man's an enigma. He may go all in further and say, hey, he'll go the Chargers route and say, hey, I've got 2024 picks now. Let's sell those right now as soon as he can. Or he may be like, you know what? This didn't shake out quite like I liked. Let me flip some more pieces and try and rebuild the storage.
He still has his own 2022 first.
Which is pretty impressive.
Well, for now. He's trying to sell that currently.
That's what means still.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he makes some more splashy trades in the next coming days.
Yeah.
But like that second will be anywhere from 14 to somewhere in the 20s, maybe 30s.
And the Ravens, I mean, like if you look at the power rankings, Ravens is 11th right now and kind of, trending towards making the playoffs as a wild card team, but that's not a lock with how strong the AFC East is. So, as long as Chris holds on to that division, maybe Javis gets lucky and Ravens misses the playoffs. But, next year, James Robinson is, his James Robinson and Fournette. Robinson with Etienne back, is he going to be a running back one again? So
100%.
Man, if you were just around at the beginning of the year, that AFC South is so terrible. You could have just stolen.
Yeah, you could have destroyed it, man.
You could have picked up random people off the waiver wire before week 1 and put together a roster that would have challenged the rest of those teams.
I looked at my roster and I was, well, how did
Javis, you're breaking up on us, man.
what I got?
Yeah, I mean the gap between you and first place in your division is a little over 400 points, which is not a lot at this point.
No, I mean what I was saying is I think that Ravens first for 2023 has a pretty decent chance to bump up into more like the 12 to 16 range too.
Oh, very, very possible.
That would be a good thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's what are the odds that both the Pats and the Ravens make the playoffs this year? So obviously Javis only has one of those picks right now, but again, makes the right moves, maybe gets the second one.
Judah.
For both Pats and Ravens to make the playoffs means that one of the Jets Dolphins, or or Titans and Raiders all miss. So you've got a pretty compact middle class there that could all challenge. Probably both don't miss, but probably both don't make.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to figure it out soon.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff still to do. I think is it next week? That's the deadline, the trade deadline, or
next week is the deadline.
When is that?
Next Thursday at kickoff.
Week,
yeah, so roughly 7 p.m. ish Central Standard Time of next Thursday. Trades are donezo.
You got 9 days.
8 days, 9 days. Okay,
9 days.
Correct, and you're going to get a lot of action.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed.
You've shown your face to the league. You are in the shit now.
Yeah, you're here.
There's a bunch of people licking their chops right now, so we'll see how it goes.
I think you've proven so far that you're going to make savvy decisions and not just take what is the first initial good value.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll obviously wait it out to see what can come down the pipeline. So if anybody that is listening to us right now, don't come with soft shit.
Don't lowball.
Yeah, he's not Seahawks.
50% of the time, it works every time.
I mean,
not lately.
It's just good to have another owner that's active now.
Take it from me, it's all about volume. sent over 1,000 trade offers last year.
Holy.
Yeah, and you're sitting right in 101. Great job, RJ. Winning formula.
And all it
You're
took
making a
was
great
about
pitch right
5
now.
trades to tear that whole team down.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the review of stuff so far. So yeah, Travis, any other questions or comments you have kind of on where things are, what you want to do, just what you're still trying to figure out, stuff like that?
I think I'd like to just stockpile as many picks as I can and start from the bottom. It seems like that's probably the best way to go as far as going up at this point.
Let me give you a piece of advice on that too. Be mindful of the year cap as well.
Okay.
So I've done the start from the bottom and take 2 or 3 years of build up from there. And what you'll find pretty fast is every first through fourth round pick gets 4 years on their rookie deal.
Okay.
And you have a 100-year cap in terms of what can fit on the roster. So
Right.
you try and stockpile picks. Next thing you know, you make 10 picks or so, and you've got half your roster years taken up there. So
Just right.
Just be mindful of the caps.
Okay.
And another thing is you can grab all the rookies you want, and if they're first rounders, just remember in 3 years you're going to be looking at having to fifth year option them, like a certain owner named Brett in this chat, where you can have a lot of really great players, but then you're looking at half your roster going to be costing a lot of money. Hey, I'm not saying it doesn't work. You did things other than just draft players, though, Brett.
I got a ring too, Brett.
The only other bit of advice after that Mahomes contract would be just to make sure that Javis, the difference between doing the extensions and then the one renegotiation that you get.
Oh, we walked him through that.
Sweet.
Yeah, we did that pre-pod.
Yep.
Yeah. As far as like so last year I did the tank, the heavy tank. This year it's RJ. If you're gonna go for it, make sure you factor in who you want to keep and plan around the people you want to keep. Like if you're gonna go forward with Mahomes,
right,
make sure you plan for that factor.
Okay. And you guys all said renegotiate end of the year is the best way to go with Mahomes right now.
I mean, unless he ends up as the quarterback one, although that would still be $2 million.
No, it's legit. There is no situation in which no matter where Mahomes scores, unless you walk into like just as an example, like DeForest Buckner, if he fucking just dies mid-season and like I send him to you at the not dies, but like if he suffers an ACL tear this weekend, and then I try and set like in a hypothetical situation, I send him to you for Kelsey. It's probably better to renegotiate somebody like Buckner, who would be looking at going from 19 million to 9 million, versus saving the 6 million or whatever it is for Mahomes. So it's just do your math there and find out at the end of the season, like, do I have anybody here that renegotiating them saves me more money than extending Mahomes?
But
because worst case scenario, you just renegotiate Mahomes the following year.
It's always situational. So just ask somebody that will actually point you in the right direction.
Okay.
Like if you get to that point,
ask who are the trustworthy guys that I'm gonna be like, all right, and this guy ain't gonna screw me. Who am I talking to?
Everybody here.
I mean, any of the active owners are gonna. I mean, and if you're really not sure, just ask 2 of them.
Yeah.
They tell me different stories, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Most everybody's honest here, as long as they're not involved in the trade itself.
I mean, everybody's got rose-colored glasses at times.
That's a really good way to put it. Is if you're
the majority of us value an active owner over the incremental advantage we'd get over giving you bad information.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd rather you have a good cap situation for making the right move and staying in the league and continuing to be an active, thoughtful, actually intelligent owner than having to go find another owner again, and we end up with more players that are in the NFC West.
Right.
So again, to those who are following along, just to make sure that this point that we're trying to make to Javis is clear, because it's going to impact some of you guys too. if you look at extensions, for a guy like Pat Mahomes, who is right now QB 4 or 5, if it's a 3-year extension, his salary would go up 20%. If it's a 3 or more year extension, it will go up 16% based off of where he's finished right now. But if he's renegotiated, the value will be less than that in terms of what that new contract's going to be, just based off the nature of where things sit. Now, to Matt's point, if it looks like, this is maybe, say he finishes QB 10, so it's a 12% increase. You may be able to renegotiate and save yourself more money with another contract, at which point it would make sense to maybe do an extension of Mahomes and a renegotiation somewhere else. It's really, how do you get the most bang for your buck with that renegotiation to keep your cap situation in a good spot? That's all we're saying there.
Those we have to go over those links quite a bit, and all position ranks and things like that. That's important.
Yeah,
and keep in mind that it is average points per game, so it's not a player's rank isn't based on the total points they scored; it's their average points per game. That's a big difference.
Right. That you gotta have 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, yeah.
I was actually one of the original owners of Derrick Henry, and I messed that up when I first came into the league when I renegotiated his contract.
I would like to take credit, and by credit I mean blame, for Derrick Henry not being on a 1-year deal and getting trade extended. Because I was the guy, I think I texted Jags owner like an hour before the deadline before rollover, and he came sprinting to the podium with like 15 minutes left to put in extensions for Chark and Henry. And then was never heard from again.
What, you don't want to see Derrick Henry on a $45 million contract?
Can't wait.
Alas.
All right.
Right on. Welcome to the League
podcast. We'll hang on and keep shooting the shit, and sometimes this is where trades happen too. But
hurry up and log off so we can make some trades.
Yeah, post-pod magic time.
Shoot!
I love you guys. I love talking to you guys. I hope you find this enjoyable. Travis, welcome to the league.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a fun week, guys. This is gonna be a lot of fun down the stretch here, and a fun off season. So hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we are. Look forward to the next one.